What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 2021 for part 14 of My Team Career Mode. This is round 13 of the Russian Grand Prix. We start off with a management department kind of event. We're going to make a large investment here. There's not really a massive difference between the two. We get quite a few more resource points for doing that, and it only costs like 25,000 more dollars, so really not an issue with the cash, I don't think. Not that little amounts anyway. As for the activities, we're just going for a few kind of aerodynamic things and a reaction thing for our second driver. We get a chassis upgrade come through, and we're going to put a new chassis upgrade on the car. We also have a durability upgrade come through. We're going to put a new one of them on as well. Then we've got a powertrain upgrade as well here, and then another chassis upgrade, and I believe another aerodynamic upgrade. So quite a few upgrades coming through for this race. So that should hopefully see us kind of make our way up the order potentially, or at least catch some of the cars ahead of us in R&D right now. As we look here, we actually do overtake AlphaTauri going into this race. So we're now the 8th fastest team. Ahead of AlphaTauri. We're pretty much dead on with our R&D though. There's not really much to separate us. As we go into Q1, it is a wet Q1, as you can see here. Very, very wet tyres and everything. It's going to be a dry race, but yeah, it is for sure a wet one for quali. As we go through here, yep, Q1, no real issues to be honest. I get through to Q2 relatively easily. Russia is actually a track that honestly I do quite enjoy in a lot of ways. I know it's not one of the favorite tracks in real life, but on this game, I don't know, when I race on it, it generally, I seem to have decent pace, and it also generally, you know, there's a lot of good racing that actually happens in Russia on the F1 games that I've played. So yeah, not like real life at all in that regard, but I do enjoy it here for sure. I end up P14 here, so like I said, through to Q2 relatively easily, not too bad there. My teammate Christian Lundgaard in P20, he doesn't make it through to Q2, but I wasn't really expecting it. Then we go on to our Q2 lap. It is still wet, however we are now on the inters. However, it's only just changed to inters as I crossed the line there for my first flying lap, and I'm actually top of the leaderboard right now, so pretty interesting. Don't worry, we're not going to stay at the top. It's purely just because the start of qualifying was on wets, and I kind of waited to the end to go, and by that time we changed to inters, so I was like the first runner on inters, so that is why I am up in the top spot, but I will fairly soon plummet down the order. This lap, obviously, I mean, it was a better lap. It was a quicker lap because we're on inters, not on wet. However, it wasn't the best lap in the world. I think my Q1 lap was perhaps a little bit better. You know, if that was also an inter lap, I think that would have been a better lap, if that makes sense. But yeah, all in all, not really a whole lot to talk about here. But like I said, I do quite enjoy this track. Yes, it's kind of a lot of just 90-degree corners right to left. There's not a whole lot of interesting stuff going on here, but I mean, you've got a big front straight. You've also got this big straight here kind of in the middle of the track, which, you know, I mean, it's DRS overtakes and stuff, but it is overtakes. And generally, yeah, like I said, in like F1 2020, this track, I had some pretty decent races on. So, yeah, honestly, it's not my least favorite. I'll be interesting to see what this race is going to be like, yeah, in real life in the 2021 season, because yeah, I mean, we've had tracks like France and what other tracks do people not really like? I think it's mainly France, to be honest, that, you know, people don't see as great tracks. Maybe Hungary in some ways, and they've turned out to be really good races in the 2021 season, so that might be the case for Russia too. Daniel Ricciardo goes quickest in Q2, which is interesting. We end up P14 again. I think we're ahead of Kimi Raikkonen and Yuki Tsunoda, so yeah, we're in a pretty good place, I think, for where we sit on R&D, so let's see what we can do in the race.
Welcome along then to Sochi and the Russian Grand Prix, one of 8 cities in the world to play host to both the Olympics and a Formula One race. It's a Grand Prix that's proven difficult to crack for anyone beyond the first 2 rows of the grid in recent years, so let's see if that can change today. Situated just 3 miles from the Georgian border, the 3.6 mile Sochi Autodrome has 2 notable overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and then turn 13. 18 corners in total here, 12 to the right and 6 to the left, and it's an average lap speed of around 130 miles per hour. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Now, I want to talk to you about Valtteri Bottas. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Norris, Sainz, Perez, Vettel and Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Gasly, Esteban Ocon, Shaw, Raikkonen, Tsunoda, Antonio Giovinazzi and Mick Schumacher, Lundgaard, Mazepin, Latifi and George Russell ends our grid lineup. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Alright, so here we go for the Russian Grand Prix in Season 1 of My Team Career Mode to 5 red lights, and away we go for the Russian Grand Prix. It is a pretty good getaway from us. We just jump Ocon off the start line. The cars ahead, though, all getting very good runs. We're up into P13 already. There's a lot of cars, a big squabble going into Turn 1 here. You see Yuki Tsunoda there. He goes for a massive dive into Turn 1. That kind of catches me out a little bit, as then he gets all over the curbs and compromises us massively, and that means that Esteban Ocon is back ahead of us again, so we're down into P15 right now. A little bit disappointing there. However, we're going to go for a pretty big dive on Ocon into the next corner, just about squeeze him out and get back up into P14, so we're back to where we started. However, we've jumped Ocon and Tsunoda has jumped us. It was a great start, a great jump from Tsunoda there. However, yeah, just kind of got it up on the curbs through Turn 1, and then got it a little bit squabbly, and then just massively compromised us for Ocon to get past, but we've managed to get him back again. As we then get over the curbs a little bit around here, we come through onto the kind of middle of the track straight here, or the back straight. It's not really at the back, it's kind of the middle straight, I suppose you could call it. Well, I guess a back straight is a middle straight. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, it's this straight here. We see a couple of cars side by side up ahead as we go for a little bit of a dive on Tsunoda here, and we just about get the position through the chicane, keep it very defensive, keep it ahead, and we are now up into P13. So it's a decent start from us, not the best start. We've made up one position off the start at the end of this lap, but yeah, I think it's a reasonably decent start for the race. I'm not going to exactly say it's not. We've got Lance Stroll up ahead of us, who I believe has dropped a position from where he started in P11, now down in P12. As we look at the start from the front of the grid, Daniel Ricciardo getting a very good start off from third place on the second row. He is side by side with with Lewis Hamilton, going down into Turn 1. And he is going to try and hang it around the outside there, which turns into the inside for the next long corner here. And he is just about hanging on there. These guys right next to each other. Great little battle here as Valtteri Bottas kind of going off in front. You can also see Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc behind. They're also going side by side, so great action up at the front here. And I believe it's actually the other McLaren, the other Ferrari and Red Bull of Sainz and Perez respectively behind them. They're also side by side, so some awesome battles going on at the front here. As you can see though, Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton, they're still side by side throughout this whole thing here. And I mean, so are the two behind, to be honest. There's really good battles going on here. As through here onto the next straight, they're still side by side right now. So are Perez and Verstappen and Leclerc behind. However, I think Verstappen has just about, he's just about got the position on Leclerc there behind. But Ricciardo and Hamilton, they're still side by side going through the chicane. This has been almost a full lap of side-by-side action from the start from these two very experienced drivers here. However, through here, Hamilton gets his kind of elbows out and he will get the position, but that is almost a full lap of side-by-side action there. as we are now catching up to the back of Lance Stroll. He's kind of getting a little bit caught up with a battle of Sainz and Alonso just up ahead there. Those guys are going side by side and kind of slowing Stroll and Gasly up a little bit, causing them to not be able to get past, which has meant that myself, Tsunoda and Giovinazzi behind, our whole train is catching up. I mean, you can see this is lap 2. We are still really close. Everyone on track still really close to each other here, which is awesome to see. We go for a dive the inside of this corner, which is then the outside for the next corner. We just about try and hang it round here. It's really close through the chicane, but we just get the better run out of the chicane there. And we've got P12. We've got that off Lance Stroll. However, I do expect Stroll to come back at us, the Aston Martin. Quite a bit of a quicker car than ours, and sure enough, into the next corner he actually goes, has a look on the inside, but he can't quite get it round. We just hang it round fairly wide and keep the position there. However, coming into turn 1, he then dives up the inside. He, however, gets over the curb a little bit and compromises his run massively, which means that we regain and keep position number 12. We're now deploying ERS down here, but once we stop doing that, he has the DRS, he has the slipstream, and Lance Stroll can then dart round to the outside. However, then we're going to just once again squeeze him out, this time from the other side of the track. And we're going to keep the position on Stroll. We're losing quite a bit of time to Gasly up ahead, which isn't great because Gasly is more of a rival for us than Stroll is, to be honest. However, you know what, I'm just going to keep this battle going. We don't really have a whole lot of choice. However, on the next lap, Lance Stroll, he's once again there. He's going for the dive on the inside for the outside of the next corner once again. This time he's a little bit further ahead as we are very close to tapping his rear right wheel there. But this time, Stroll has got the position on us. We've also got Tsunoda behind us to watch out for, and we've kind of got to let him go at this point. However, we are coming up to the front straight again, with the DRS zone, with the slipstream, and surely enough, that gives us a big advantage. Remember, our engine actually isn't that bad, to be honest. And we go for the dive up the inside of Stroll into turn 1. We just about get up alongside, but he gets a little bit of a better run out of the corner. However, yellow flags, he drops back. There is an issue with Lance Stroll. My engineer's telling me on the radio, he's completely slowed down there. He's massively slowed down the cars behind me with Tsunoda and Giovinazzi and the whole of the train. And Lance Stroll is out of the session. He has a mechanical failure as we're going side by side with him. As we look at a little bit of a replay here, we go side by side into this corner here. We get a little bit over the curbs, and that just lets him get a better run through the corner, but then his engine goes kaput. Lance Stroll is out of the session. That is pretty disappointing for us as well, because we were having a good little battle with him there. I think he would have got us eventually and gone off into the distance. That does, however, now mean that I have clean air, and I can go chasing after Gasly, and we actually have quite a bit of clean air from behind too, because Stroll DNFing massively slowed up Tsunoda and Giovinazzi and that whole train behind me. So we've now got complete clean air to just trail down, get down Gasly. We're absolutely giving it all here. I'm just pushing as hard as I can on this soft tyre stint. We're going to be coming into the pits pretty soon, but we've got to try and catch up to Gasly. He's potentially being slowed down a little bit from Carlos Sainz up ahead, who's on the medium tyres. So everybody else pretty much on the softs here. So we've just got to make the most of this clean air and just get as much time on Gasly as we can. As they now come into the pits, a lot of cars come into the pits. We end up, after that whole thing, in 6th place. And I believe we'll be coming into the pits not this lap, but the next lap. So, yeah, even though we're pushing pretty hard, we're doing pretty well on the tyre department. As we come into the pits on lap 13, we're going to see what damage this does, whether we gain on Gasly or whether we lose out here. All the leaders come past us, the 2 Mercedes, the 2 McLarens and the Red Bulls all passed us there quite easily. I mean, Perez is a little bit further back, but he will also get past us there. I think he's in a little bit of a battle with Sebastian Vettel, as we have a pretty good pit stop there. It is a 2.7. Okay, it's not the best pit stop, but it's not terrible. The 2 Williams, unfortunately, do overtake us in this pit window. Now, they have not come in yet. They started on mediums. We started on softs. So we've got to make our way back through Russell and Latifi, which could potentially slow us down a little bit. Luckily, we catch up to Russell, who is actually behind Latifi at the moment. He started behind as well because of a grid penalty. We catch him at the straight here, which means that we can get the DRS, go round the outside of him. He does also have DRS though on his teammate, and he tries to keep it on the inside, but just can't quite do it. He gets his wheels up on the curb, and yeah, that's a little bit disappointing for Russell there. He can't quite keep the position. We are now trying to get past Latifi. We kind of catch him in a bit more of an awkward spot, lose probably a little bit of time through this section here. We just can't quite do anything. We do have the kind of back straight coming up on us next here, where we will make our overtake. And I mean, he's got nobody in front of him, so he does not have DRS. So this should be a fairly straightforward overtake as we go to the inside here, to the outside here, but we've got the corner, we've got the position well before the chicane, and now it's once again just a massive dash to Gasly, Sainz and Alonso up ahead. There's yellow flags up ahead though, as Charles Leclerc, he's sideways on the track there. He must have had a spin. I forgot to get a replay of that one, so I don't actually have anything to show you what happened, but I believe he just had a spin up ahead, but that's pretty disappointing. He was fighting up for 4th place with Max Verstappen, I believe. As we go on to lap 17, we're just reeling in Gasly. We really are just pushing it as hard as we can here. We've got a big gap back to Latifi. And there's our engineer saying that you're pushing the tyres pretty hard here. You might not have, you don't want to completely ruin them. And we're not going to. We're pushing hard, but we're pushing fairly, as we are catching Gasly quite a lot. Sainz, I believe, up ahead, he's now on the hard tyre, so he's made his one stop, but he is on slower tyres at the moment. So we'll see how that affects us.
Just so you know, we're getting some strange readings from a couple of the sensors. I don't think you need to be worried. It's just some bad data, so keep doing what you're doing, and I'll let you know if we notice any genuine problems.
That is not something I want to hear. We have issues with some sensors. They don't seem fatal, but could be an issue. Well, then he says, well, it's not really an issue, but we got this exact same radio message in, I believe it was Hungary, and then we retired from the race a lap later. So I'm a little bit nervous here. I'm a little bit scared. We're doing really well here. We are on the edge of points. We're in P11 now. Gasly up ahead is P10. So we're on the edge of getting some points here, and we have a potential failure coming our way. Nothing's popped up so far, but I'm still quite wary. We have now caught right up to the back of this train of Gasly, Sainz and Alonso. We have DRS on them now. However, it can be quite difficult to overtake. Yes, there's a lot of straights on this track, but it's a big DRS train. This is a massive DRS train now. You've got 4 cars here in a big DRS train, and yeah, it's gonna be difficult to overtake. We're gonna go through here, and as you can see, onto that straight there, we weren't able to do anything, and then through here we've got DRS again. We're deploying ERS as well, but trying not to use too much. We don't want to run out, and the closing speed just isn't quite enough. We're pretty much on pace with the AlphaTauris on R&D, so we can't really catch them in the corners. But yeah, we just can't really do anything because of the DRS issues. And on to lap 25 now. Going down here, we're still in P11. I really would just like that 1 point. We get a better run though this time. We're massively deploying our ERS this time. We're looking to the inside, but Gasly, he's going quite defensive. He knows what he's doing, the French driver, and he keeps us at bay and still has a good run through the first corner. And we can't quite do anything yet. We had a little look there, but ultimately there's not really much we can do. We've only got 2 laps of this race left to go. I think they're telling me that Giovinazzi has an issue or something. I'm really not bothered about that. As we look further up the road, and we have Lando Norris sizing up a move on Max Verstappen into turn 1 here. This is the battle for P4 on the grid. He's going around the outside of turn 1, and you know what? I think he's made it work. That is a beautiful overtake there from Lando Norris. Of course, he's trying to make his way back up the grid after his terrible race last time in Italy at Monza. He was fighting for the lead, going for a move on the lead, and unfortunately crashed out of the race. So he's looking for a better position here, currently running up in P4. Then we have Valtteri Bottas out of the session. That's big for the championship. He is leading the championship by a mile at the moment, but neither of them are... Well, actually, no. Hamilton had a DNF last time, didn't he? But Bottas has not had a mechanical failure this whole season, a retirement. He's out of the race here, so he's going to score no points. that potentially opens up the championship. We see him on the left there, so that actually puts us up into the points. We're now up into P10, but we look at a little bit of a replay here. Looking at Daniel Ricciardo, he's really there with the two Mercedes cars. He's not backing down at all, really showing he's got some good place in the McLaren here. Not exactly like real life. We see Bottas have an issue there, and then Ricciardo just smacks right into the back of Bottas's car. Hamilton manages to get up into the lead, but yeah, Bottas has gone straight into the back of Bottas. Hasn't DNF'd from the race, but he's now missing his front wing, which means that he'll probably be coming into the pits on the second to last lap of the race. He was looking at a, after that failure, a definite P2, possibly a win if he could have overtaken Hamilton. But yeah, it's going to be a pit stop for Ricciardo, and that's probably going to put him out of the points. As we come here onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, we see there on the right, the orange dot, Ricciardo is into the pits. That puts us up into P9. So we are well into the points now. We're going to score points this race. It's whether we can catch Gasly for a P8. However, he's really turned up the pace on this last lap. We catch up right here, but there's not going to be a whole lot we can do. Lewis Hamilton wins the Russian Grand Prix, so it's good to see him win again. He's still got a long way to go to catch up to Bottas in the championship, but maybe this is Lewis's turning point. Maybe this is Valtteri's turning point in the championship in a bad way. We are putting a hell of a lot of pressure on Gasly in these last few corners, but ultimately there's nothing we can do. However, we're going to come home in P9. It is 2 points. It's another points finish, our third points finish of the season. It's great to be back in the points again. I think it's our third, maybe our fourth. I think it's our third, I don't know, but we also get driver of the day. It's a really good race from us, and yeah, a pretty good one at Russia, all things being considered.
Another superb Russian Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
So there we go. Lewis Hamilton wins the Russian Grand Prix. Lando Norris, because of Bottas and Ricciardo falling out of the points, he picks up second place on the podium. That's awesome. I think that might be his first podium of the season. I'm not 100% sure. And then Max Verstappen, third place as well there. So that's awesome for Red Bull too. A good finish for Red Bull and McLaren. As we have a look down here, we finish in P9 behind Pierre Gasly, which is awesome. Thankfully, we're quite a way ahead of the two Alfa Romeos. They are our main rival in the Constructors' Championship right now. Christian Lundgaard finishes down in P16, so it's a decent finish for him. Nothing extraordinary, but it's not terrible. In the Drivers' Championship, we actually don't move at all. We're still in P12 there, but we are 1 point ahead of Esteban Ocon now. Christian Lundgaard, he's still down there in P19. And yeah, not a whole lot of changes there. And then I think in a second we will go and have a look at the constructor standings, and I mean, nothing has changed there at all. There's really not a whole lot of battles going on. Bit of a battle between Aston Martin and Alpine, but other than that, everyone's pretty spaced out. But anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.